how-to lighting and post-production video. A couple people asked me to do this, so I thought, you know what, this is one of those things where it's easier to do when you have your rig set up basically, and so since we're in the middle of shooting and reviewing Ghost Rider, I figured this would be the perfect opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Remember, photography is painting with light. Somebody that shoots video only, their mindset is they're used to just getting everything in camera, getting the light, that's the shot, that's going to be your final. If you're a compositor or an effects artist like me, then what's in camera and what gets put on the plate is like your basic starting point. The way I approach doing these things really is getting clean light on the subject, right? And then pretty much that's my starting point, and then I paint everything in post. Get a simple light setup to get a clean image on your whatever it is you're shooting, and then we'll go into After Effects and I'll kind of show you how I adjust my settings. With every light setup, you've got three points, right? You've got your main key light, you've got a backlight, and you've got a fill light. Right now, the way I have this set up, you can't see this off camera, but I have a light right here on a softbox to my right, 45 degrees from the camera. Light is up and tilted down at a 45-degree angle. Same thing over here. This is where I'm standing. This is 45 degrees from me as a point of reference. So it's a 45 here and 45 there. And that light is the backlight. And I have a key and a back. I could have a fill over here, but I'm not really going to be using that, so it doesn't really matter. You want a softbox because the softbox is what gives you a diffuse and even light. Without the softboxes, it's actually really hard to light anything. If you do any kind of cinematography, you'll see that almost everything is done in softbox just to give that nice, clean, dispersed light as opposed to a harsh light coming from various angles. In this case, all I have is I have my key over here that's illuminating this side and hitting some of the subject here in the back in the foreground, and over there I'm just using that light. Honestly, that light can easily be over on my left to be a fill, and I don't need a backlight per se. If the subject's in the center as your point of reference, you can have a key on a 45-degree angle this way or that way depending on which way you want the light to fall, and then on this side you can have a fill, or here, it just kind of depends, but you're playing the opposite angles. And in this case I've got a 45 here and a 45 there. I'm using that backlight off of that 45 degrees axis just as an aesthetic. It's really just, it's in the shot. I'm letting you see the light. Once you kind of understand those basic fundamentals, then you kind of play with that formula a little bit. Now, how we apply this to lighting the statue, let's get to that. I wanted to kind of show you how I set up a simple softbox rig to light the statue. Now, I put the camera a little bit further back so that you can see how the lights are framed. This is the center of the subject. You divide it in half. You can play the angle off of this 45, or you can even have it straight on the 90, and then you can have a 90 here, or you can have two 45s, or you can have two 90s hitting it on this way. Right now, the way I have it set up is I have a 45 here, and this is kind of close to 90, maybe on like a 70 or something. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because this 45 is going to hit light in this region and kind of give you the basic nice main light, main key light, which is what's called key light. And then this is just supposed to fill in any of the shadows, and that's your fill light. Now I don't have a backlight over here, which if I had a third one, I'd put it up there, shining up down, but we don't really need that for this example, because really what we're trying to illuminate is the shot right here. And to do that, you can achieve that just by having two lights on two softboxes. Now, distance of the light to the subject and the intensity matters. Right now I have these two stock to 50% on each, and they're both fairly close. Now, if I bring this up to 100, you'll see that there's a lot more illumination of the subject. You have to look at this through camera, right? Because if you're not looking at it on camera through the lens, you're not actually going to see how much light is being picked up by your sensor in the subject. Because right now, from experience, I know that 200% they're way too low now. So I'm going to set this back to 50, and even this on 50, it might be a bit much. Distance and intensity matters. Now, the reason you want a softbox, and these are the softboxes that gives the clean dispersion and diffusion to the light. The reason that you want a softbox is because if I were to take the softbox out, the light hitting now is really harsh, and that is really what you don't want at all. So I hope you can see that after I put the softbox back on, this is a lot less harsh and it's a lot more muted, and the light kind of falls and sculpts into the subject as opposed to just hitting it like boom, like a truck, you know what I'm saying? There's tons of things that you can do with light. You can take this, point it up to the ceiling, use it as bounce light, and that creates a different effect. You can put a gobo right where the lens is, and then it shines and creates a pattern shadow, or a scrim, depending on what kind of light you use. Back in the film school days, we had to use those really expensive film lights, like REs. They're beautiful, they're great if you're working on a movie or if you're working on Law and Order, for example. But for what you're doing with YouTube these days, and with the technology of lighting that has now brought the cost down, like, you know, at work I use the expensive stuff, but I don't know, I'm not buying that stuff for my own personal use. So I just got these. It's like $100 light kit off of Amazon, and with the LEDs and the softboxes, I know enough about lighting to kind of get what I want out of it. So point is, you don't really have to spend that much these days. If you have a little bit of lighting theory under your belt, you go wrong. That being said, let's take the pictures that I've shot from this lighting setup, and then we'll translate that in After Effects and do the post-production in it, and kind of see how I get the final pictures of what I do. Some people can come to the school of thought of whatever I shoot off of the light that goes on the camera plate, that's my shot and that's the end of that. But if you're a compositor, then that's never your shot. That's always just your base image, and you take that and then you color process from there. There are different things that you can do to cheat a practical effect in post. We'll go over some of the basic ones in After Effects. So let's go into After Effects.